the basketball player and create a real sense of depth. So if we navigate to our cloud image that we've had open, and let's move this panel to the right, what I'd like to do is cut a selection of the cloud image using the marquee tool, which is here, the square marquee tool. Now I normally press M for marquee, and do bear in mind, if you need to remember the shortcuts or find shortcuts, they're always here. If you hold down the mouse or the pen, the options panel opens up and you'll have the shortcut option here for every tool, as you can see. So it's M for marquee. Now I'm going to click and drag, create a selection around about here, and I'm going to hold down the space bar once I've drawn the rectangle to make sure that the marquee moves as I desire it. Once I've got the right shape or selection, let's hold down the V for the main selection, or you can choose it up here, and I'm going to drag that selection onto the main composition. Let's zoom out with Command or Control minus, and let's put that right at the bottom there. Let's bring the layers panel back to the left, open the layers panel, let's name that Cloud 2, and let's close that down. Now what we need to do is resize it, so I'm going to press the Command or Control T again, hold down the Shift key to resize in proportion. Let's drag it all the way up, let's bring it across like that, and what we need to do now is create a mask to paint away the areas that we don't want within the cloud image. So I'm just going to add another mask to the cloud image in the foreground. Let's make sure that we have our brush tool selected, and let's resize the brush using the brackets on the keyboard, left and right brackets. Let's bring the opacity up to about 70, and I'm going to then begin to paint away at the image. Taking away the areas that we really don't need. As you can see here, I'm taking away quite quickly the excess area, which is good. Now once you've done that, let's open the layers panel. You can see here what I've painted away. Again, if you need to paint anything back in, just zoom in. You can choose the white as the full color, and if you paint over the same area, you'll see it brings it all back. So it's all completely non-destructive, which is the reason why I advocate using masks. So back to the black layer, let's paint away that area there. Let's close that down, zoom out slightly. Now what I'd like to do is, I think I'd like to flip over the image to bring this cloud on this side. So what I'm going to do is hold down the Command or Control T, and I'm going to right click. Let's bring this up so we can see. Let's bring it up there. So I'm going to right click and flip horizontally, and let's bring that back down there, and let's zoom in slightly. So that's looking better. What we need to do now is open the levels panel to play with the shadows of the image, but let's make sure that again we've got the main image selected and not the mask. So image adjustments, levels, or Command or Control L. Let's bring down the left slider slightly and then bring down the mids there, which is good, that's fine. And I'd like to play with the hue of the image just to take out some of the blue as we did with the main background. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments and Hue Saturation. Let's bring down the saturation bar there. That's better. So now it blends in more with the main image. That's good. So it's -40. And what I'd like to do is just put this layer on top of the basketball layer. So it just overlaps the shoe slightly. Like that. And let's zoom out again using Command or Control minus. Let's press Command Control T just to resize the image just a bit more. Let's make the clouds slightly larger. There. And I'd like to get rid of some of this white here, some of the highlights. So back to our mask, make sure it's selected. Let's get the brush up, make sure it's on black. Make sure the opacity is around 70, and let's just paint away some of that area there that we don't necessarily want. And some of this area here. Okay. Let's zoom in again. And the final thing that I'd like to do in this lesson is I'd like to add some blur to the image. So I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And again, as you can see here, I've opened the blur option, but nothing's happening because we need to make sure that the main image is selected. So again, let's choose the main image here, and let's close that down. Go to Filter, Blur and Gaussian Blur, and let's play with the slider to get the right amount of blur. And as you can see, when I add the blur, it does really create a lot more depth in the image, and the clouds appear to really stand out in the foreground. So let's just zoom back slightly, and if need be, you can always play with the opacity there just to blend out the cloud a little bit so it's not as glaring. So I can just bring it down slightly there. That looks better. Let's close that down. So there we have the clouds in the foreground, which we'll manipulate again further in later lessons. In the next lesson, I'd like to demonstrate how we can change the colour of the garments and the socks and work on the main character to blend it in more.